Good afternoon, everybody. As you're coming in, I ask that you would share this live stream to your Facebook and whatever social media platform you're on, Twitter. Let other people know that the revolution will not be televised, but it will be streamed, is on live and in effect. Stephen, how you doing, man?
All is well, man. Always good to connect with you and connect with these people in this virtual space so that we can inform, enhance, transform, and empower people, man. I'm glad that we have been able to connect in that way to serve people, especially in this time period in history, to lay a launch pad for people to change and transition, especially in the ministry and business space, so that they can remain relevant and do what they've been called and crafted to do.
Yeah, this is exciting. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. As you're coming on, please just give me a thumbs up or a heart. Let me know that you can hear us, that you can see us, that everything is clear. Go ahead and share this on your timeline quickly. Text at least 3 other people. Tell them they can come on to Facebook or YouTube. They can go to YouTube at RickyAllmon. This conversation is streaming live there. For those who may be wondering the focus of this conversation and the purpose of this conversation, this is a conversation about leadership and life in a digital world. It's designed for pastors, it's designed for entrepreneurs, it's designed for consultants, it's designed for digital content creators, it's designed for social media influencers, it's designed for educators and everybody, Lottie Dottie and everybody who desires to maximize their potential, mobilize their purpose, and multiply their productivity. And Stephen, I'm sure you would agree that if there was ever a time that we needed to maximize, mobilize, and multiply, the time is now.
For sure, man. I mean, the speed of change was already happening faster than ever before than people anticipated.
Right.
And when this virus smacked us upside the head, it escalated the speed of change. I mean,
right.
Within a couple of weeks, how we do church has radically shifted.
Right.
And people who had not been prepared, who had not been progressive, they found themselves with their pants down.
Right.
And how we do business, again, I mentioned last time we were together trying to open up my clothing store. We were right on the brink of getting ready to open. I don't know if we'll ever be able to open. That's the reality. I've got a 5-year.
So talk about that. That's interesting. The fact that what has happened now has so altered things. Talk about the shifts and the changes, particularly in the paradigm,
Sure.
in how we engage and how we do business. Speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so we had a brick and mortar store, luxury, high-end menswear and accessories. So we first got hit with our manufacturers for our vendors being shut down. Most of our content and material comes from China or Turkey. So once COVID hit, that manufacturing shut down, our vendors weren't able to ship. So that threw us off. And then as this pandemic rolled out further, we saw the extent of the seriousness of it. Stay-at-home orders were in place, non-essential businesses shut down. So we had to shut down. Now, on the other hand, we've got the landlord saying, hey, you're going to pay us rent for this month? And I'm like, I'm going to pay you $4,000 for what? And where's it coming from?
Wow.
So that's an element there. Business partners who were dependent on this income because that's all we do, that's all they did.
Right.
They're stuck now. There's no income coming in. We got some manufacturers who did have merchandise that was ready to ship. They're still trying to ship it. And I'm telling them, for what? Keep that. I'm not paying that bill. I can't sell those goods. Right. And then we've got a 5-year lease on this space. And again, let's say COVID kind of cancels out in the next month. Let's say some miraculous thing happens. It shuts down. People start getting back to work. Right. Buying high-end menswear is not going to be at the top of nobody's list. So I've got that dynamic. I also got to wait till manufacturers get back fully in shape, start producing menswear and accessories, ship that, get it in the store. Hopefully it's in season. And again, I'm still at the bottom of the totem pole in terms of people's priorities, in terms of coming in. So
Right,
even if I shifted to a digital space and put my merchandise online, again, people ain't trying to buy clothes.
right,
People ain't trying to buy $800 belts and sweaters for $400.
right.
And so I don't know if I'll be able to open this store. This may be what we put in the sunk cost really might be sunk.
Wow,
And we may not be able to kind of relive this thing. It might
wow.
be several years before we can say, hey, let's get back into this high-end retail space.
So that's the dynamics of what we're dealing with and what we're looking at. And I think that brings us to our conversation today. So the subject or the focus I'd like for us to have for today is we're calling this conversation "and also." So what we're having to do is we're having to really explore not only the business plans and the ideas and the concepts that we've already had before us as pastors, as entrepreneurs, as consultants, as digital content creators, as social media influencers, as educators, as people who are parents, whatever your leadership role is, you not only have the responsibility of the day-to-day engagement that that role requires, but now you've got to explore new methodology, right? And new mechanics of how you can be more efficient and more effective at doing what you're doing. The reason why this conversation is so important to Stephen and I is because we want to do everything that we can, however we can, to help you become everything that you ought to be. Let me recapitulate that. We want to do all that we can, however we can,
Yes.
to help you become everything you ought to be. And the reason this is a passion for us, we're both PKs, we're both preachers' kids. We both started ministry at a very, very young age. I started pastoring at a very young age. And between us two, we still consider ourselves young men, but already we have over 50 years of combined experience and expertise in organizational, pastoral, and entrepreneurial leadership. So that's what we're bringing to you today. We want to share some stuff with you that we believe will really make a difference in your life. So go ahead and share this on your timeline. We're just having some substantive banter with you right now, just to whet your appetite, give you an appetizer for what we're going to be talking about today. But go ahead and share this on your timeline. As a matter of fact, start a watch party. Go ahead and start a watch party. If you're on Facebook, get some friends together, call somebody. Well, they can't come to your house because remember, we got physical distancing. It's not social distancing, it's physical distancing. So don't tell them come over. They can't drop in.
Right.
But you can invite them in virtually. Isn't that amazing, Stephen?
That's amazing.
Our lexicon has been redefined.
Yes. Yeah, everything has shifted. And what people really got to get cemented in their mind is nothing is going back to the same. Normal is no longer normal. Everything has changed. Everything has shifted. The world is going to be different, and we got to embrace that. And I think, again, the purpose of us coming on today and sharing what we're going to share, not just today, but get ready because we got some exciting things planned out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Be
definitely.
able to get this content on a regular basis is that you've got to be prepared now.
Right.
You got to look not for 2020, you got to look into 2021 with everything that you're doing.
Right. 2030. Let's just go there.
Thank you, man.
Let's just go there. And it's very critical. I think I always tell people you don't plan for the future, you plan from the future.
I love it, man. Yeah.
Because if you're waiting to get to the future before you prepare for the future, you're going to just represent the past.
Sure.
So you have to see what the future is and do the moonwalk if you can.
Yeah.
And prepare yourself for what's ahead of you. Listen, go ahead and share this on your timeline. Start a watch party. I hope everybody's doing well. How you doing? How your mama and them doing? How Big Mama doing? How y'all doing? Where you coming on from? If you're on Facebook, go ahead and rep your city. Let us know that you're holding it down, that you're just because you shut in, you're not shut down.
Yes.
You stand in place. Anybody know how to move in place? Remember when we were kids, you had to know how to move in place. We're having to move in place right now. You're having to strategize in place. You're having to dream in place, imagine in place. So go ahead and shout out. Let us know where you're coming on from so that we can see you. I hope you're doing good. Listen, thank you. I posted this on my page yesterday. Thank you to first responders, to medical professionals, law enforcement, government officials, especially our pastors, senior pastors around the country. Thank you for taking care of people. Thank you for looking out for people. Thank you for making what's important to God important to you. We really have to thank God for senior pastors, community leaders around the globe. So we really appreciate you. Anybody that has a first responder, medical professional, law enforcement, government official that's in your family or your friendship circle, continue to pray for them, encourage them every day. You ought to send them a text every day and tell them thank you for being on the front line. As Stephen and I have been talking about in our introduction, we are truly in unprecedented times that I believe will posture us for uncommon possibilities and unparalleled productivity. And I believe that the times that we're in demand that leaders, no matter what your context of leadership is, the times demand that leaders shift from reactive maintenance, Stephen, to proactive mobilization.
Yes.
You know, I understand the first few days and weeks of this, what has been known as a pandemic and quarantine, the subsequent quarantine that has taken place. I know we've had to react to some things just to, you know, make real-time, short notice adjustments.
Correct.
But we're in this thing now.
Yep.
And it appears we're at least going to be in this to the end of April, and the speculators are saying it could be beyond. Who knows, May or June. So it's important for leaders that you make a paradigm shift and a shift in your leadership posture to recognize that you can no longer be reactive. This is not about just maintaining the status quo.
Yeah.
And looking forward to doing what you've been doing. No, you've got to shift now to proactive mobilization. Here's what that means. That means you got to change your P word. Write this down. So you got to change your P word. As a leader, your P word has to go from being pandemic to possibilities. Change your P word. As you talk to your core team, as you talk to your staff, as you talk to your leaders, and this applies to pastors, this applies to executives, entrepreneurs, whatever your, this applies to a family, whatever your context of leadership is, shift from reactive maintenance, shift from pandemic mode, and we just trying to make it, and shift to proactive mobilization, shift to possibilities. Change your P word from pandemic to possibilities. And as I said earlier, if you're planning to see what the future holds, you're already too late. You've already missed it. You can't be waiting to see what's going to happen on April 30th. You can't be waiting to see how many more months this is going to go. You have got to start preparing yourself now for how you're going to engage when this is over. Can I tell you something? There are people waiting on you.
Yeah.
There are people depending on what you have.
Yes, what you bring to the table.
Yeah, they're waiting for that. Talk to that, Stephen. Talk to the readiness and the preparedness that's incumbent upon leaders now as they posture for what's beyond what we've known as pandemic.
Yeah, we have to move our mindset beyond trying to just survive, but to thrive.
Yeah.
What's it going to look like on the other side of this? And the reality of the matter is that a lot of businesses aren't going to make it. Even a lot of churches aren't going to make it. There's going to be a lot of shifting. You know, we've looked at pastors dying in Chicago just this past week. I know at least 2 pastors in this past week that have died. And so we're going to see that in the faith community around the globe. I got a friend over in London. She mentioned to me that two of the leading pastors there this past week died, major people in the denomination realm over there. And so younger preachers are going to be called up. You're coming up from the minor leagues to the major leagues because these congregations, these flocks are going to need somebody to lead them and lead them into the future. And I want to challenge any young preacher that's watching me or watching us today. If you've been modeling your ministry and mimicking the old preacher, sir, ma'am, you're going to die. You're going to die real quick. That's not going to make it. That's not going to translate well as to where we're going. And one of the struggles, to the point that we're speaking of right now, is that many of our faith leaders, especially, were trained to do ministry in the 20th century context, and they were failing to transition over to the 21st century context of ministry. So I believe that this is prime time for us to partner, to collaborate. I put up a post the other week that it's time for many of the young preachers, young pastors to connect with the seasoned and senior pastor somewhere.
That's a good point. I was getting ready to say that. I think that's very critical. Oh God, this is where we got to dig in. I think it's so important that we disrupt this destructive, debilitating cycle of culture wars.
Yes.
Where you have leaders of one generation fighting against another generation. And even to my millennial leaders and Mosaic leaders, don't fight against the baby buster and baby boomer leaders, because one day you're going to be where they are.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One day our ideas are going to be antiquated.
Correct.
You know, and
Yeah.
So if you want to learn the posture you need to have when you're no longer the relevant one, you need to learn how to partner with the generations before you. And that's why we've tagged this conversation "and also," because don't get it twisted. We're not trying to throw out the baby with the bathwater, even though there is a need for a paradigmic shift.
Yes.
At the same time, we're not trying to burn the whole house down.
Correct.
We're not saying, hey, we're not telling you that your building doesn't have value. It does have value. It is a place of community, but it may be time to assess the best way to use it.
Correct. Yeah.
Because I think the thing that we're beginning to realize, particularly if you're dealing with church leadership, is that all of the elements that we use for church, Stephen, are just tools.
Correct.
They're not church in themselves.
Exactly.
But they're tools. We know that the church are the individuals, the people. That's who God died for. And I'm sorry, those that are business leaders and entrepreneurs and executives, and you say, I didn't come on here for church talk. Well, we're both preachers, so you got to forgive us or not. But this is what we're going to say. So our buildings are tools, just like technology is a tool.
Sure.
And tools are not the end all be all. Tools are not the end. They're just a means to the end.
Correct.
So I think it's very critical to know how to strategically use the tools that have been placed in our hands. And so that's what we're really trying to encourage. So I think you just gave me a perfect segue, Stephen, and since you're already out there elucidating and expanding on concepts and ideas, I'm gonna leave you out there and let you keep going with this. So I think this brings me to the point that we want to talk about, and that is it's time to act. Yes. ACT, it's time to act. I love acronyms and alliterations. The reason I love acronyms and alliterations is because they assist in comprehension and memorization.
Yes, sir.
And so most of us know an acronym is when you take the letters of the word to give a greater concept, to expound on the concept or principle, and use every letter in the word to form other words. An alliteration is when every word in a phrase begins with the same letter. And so today we're going to use an acronym, just a quick English lesson, little acronym. And we're talking about it's time to act. It's time to act. ACT. You made a post, Stephen, the other day that I saw, and it was interesting because I'd just been ruminating and musing about leadership concepts and ideas.
Yeah.
And that particular day, I had been thinking about adaptability.
Okay.
And so that's the first word we want to deal with when it comes to it's time to act. The A is for adaptability. Let's talk about how important it is for leaders, no matter what their context or genre of leadership is, how important is it for them to be adaptable? And what are some areas? You just talked about on your own personal experience. You were getting ready to open a clothing store.
Right.
And I know it because you talked to me, over the last few months, looked like every other week. You were walking out of the pulpit on Sunday, Rick, I'm going to get on the plane. I'm heading to China. That's why we didn't want to be around you when you got back. But nevertheless, talk to us about the importance of adaptability and here's what's critical. When it comes to generational leadership, I don't believe that any leader should act like something they're not. And I think that's very important. The Bible talks about how David, it's in the book of Acts, how he served his generation well.
Yep.
And I think that's very critical. You're called to your generation. So you don't have to know all the nuances of technology, but if you're a baby boomer leader, it's incumbent upon you to bring the buster or the millennial or the mosaic around you. You don't have to act like you know it. You know what you know.
Right.
They don't know what you know, but there's something that they know that you may not know.
That's it, man.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so talk about that adaptability.
Sure.
And why that's so important.
So outside of the whole church piece that I do and retail, I'm a project manager, certified PMP, professional project manager. And so there's an aspect of project management that I want to interject here, and it's called being agile.
That's good.
Agile project management is where you shift and you flow as the project is unfolding, as the widget is being built. You learn as you go and you make the adjustment. You don't stay stringent and stuck. You're flexible and you remain fluid. And that's where we have to be. I put up a post again yesterday. I keep referring to these posts because I want people to know we got content out there. So check out our pages.
Exactly.
Get the content. It's there for you to learn, to glean. You can even steal it, take it, and share it with your circle of influence. It's
Right.
free of charge for now. But that post, I gave leaders some questions that they should ask their audience. What I often find when I consult with businesses, nonprofits, churches, is that the ownership, the leadership tells the customer what they want rather than ask the customer what they want. And
Say that again. Say that again. That's very critical.
We often tell people what they want instead of asking them what they want. And so we wonder why we have low engagement on our social media platforms, why people aren't engaging our business, because we're not giving the people what they want. And you can only give the people what they want if you ask them what they want. Find a need and fill it. That's business 101. You don't even have to go to school to learn that. Find a need and fill it. So that means how you approach ministry, how you approach your business, it may shift right now because you have to give people what they need, what they want, meet them where they are. If we can go spiritual, Jesus met people where they were. Right. He didn't treat people the same way. There was no carbon copy way for Jesus to engage and interact with people. He met.
Always say Jesus met people where they were, gave them what they needed to get them where he wanted them to go.
I love it, man.
Yeah, that's critical.
And that's what being adaptable is all about. One of the things, especially with the baby boomer and older generation, is that they've been successful in many ways.
Exactly.
And success can cause delusion. And you think that what got you here was going to get you there, and it's not. That's why it's critical that you surround yourself with people who can see what you cannot see to take you higher. So my dad is known as a giant in the Christian community. And so because he's a giant, he's able to see some stuff. But guess what happens when I stand on top of the giant's shoulders? I can see farther than the giant. So my dad has put himself in a position where he'll ask me, hey, I don't know how to do all this technical stuff. Can you show me? I want to set up, he hit me the other day. I want to set up a fund for the coronavirus for people in our congregation that have been impacted. So I said, cool, Dad, what you need to do, go to woofu.com, get a woofu form, plug it into the website on the back end. Tell the members they can go there and fill out the form, give them what they need. You can get that, compile that information, then you can dole out the funds based upon the needs of the people. He never heard.
So hold on, Stephen, slow down, because there are some pastors on here.
Yeah.
and some community leaders and some nonprofit leaders who need that platform. So this is, I wish I had that sound. Dun, 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 dun. This is a tool alert is what I'm going to call it. This is a tool alert. So tell again what the context of that platform is, how it can be engaged, sure. And then give it again and spell it out, because there are people writing it down, typing it. Go ahead and give that again.
So it's WUFOO, WUFOO.com, WUFOO.com. WUFOO provides templates of various forms that you can attach to your website, to your platform, where you can get whatever necessary and needed information that you need from people. And it translates it into an Excel spreadsheet for you. You don't have to do all the work. It does all of that for you on the back end, and you can easily access the information that you're asking for from people, create your mailing list, things of that nature, and be able to engage them and interact with them in that way.
That's
you just add another tab to your website, and it connects that with that form. They hit the tab, the form pops up, and it's all built into your platform. So it's not funky. There's great interaction and engagement between the WUFOO platform and whatever platform you're using.
So then, to this point of adaptability, what was the other A word that you put with that?
Man, remind me, because I was just flowing.
Yeah. So you were talking about adaptability, and you said with adaptability, agility. Yes. Yeah. Which simply means to be flexible.
Yes.
You got to be flexible if you're going to act and shift the P word from pandemic to possibilities. You got to be adaptable. You got to have agility. You've got to be flexible. And that's why we've called this conversation "and also." It doesn't mean that there is no merit to what you're already doing.
Sure.
It just means that this time requires that you do some other things. And let me help you understand this. Sometimes we're afraid to try new things because we feel that that's an indictment against what we've been doing.
Yes, and it's not.
It's not. New doesn't even necessarily mean it's better. It just means it's right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I say it this way, Ricky. Different doesn't mean deficient. Just because
I like that.
You're doing something different doesn't make the other thing deficient. It's just different.
Exactly.
If you take no risk, you get no reward. This is prime time to take a risk. And guess what? It doesn't have to be perfect. Just do it. Done is better than perfect. You'll fix it.
So Stephen, why are people so afraid of different?
Because what you just said, they feel that it's going to cancel out and void out what they've been doing before. So let's go back church. You've got pastors who've been, the internet is of the devil. These social media platforms, that's of the devil. Facebook, that's of the devil. Now, sir, ma'am, you gotta have it, or people are hearing your voice. And so now they're afraid to step out there because it's going to be like, oh, I was so against it before, I look hypocritical. Right. And so we get caught up in ego and image and all that stupid stuff. Give the people what they want, meet them where they are, set up the Facebook, set up the phone call, the conference line, use everything you can to reach people according to your context.
Yeah. So basically the antithesis of adaptability is that old adage that people often fear what they don't understand.
That's it.
That would be the antithesis to adaptability. So I become rigid and inflexible, not because I don't want to be better or do better, but it's because I don't understand that it's better.
Correct.
And I'm afraid to look incompetent.
Yes. I'm afraid to seem ignorant.
Yeah. I'm afraid of the learning curve. Right. So the first thing, leader, is you've got to be adaptable. If you're going to act, you've got to learn how to become adaptable.
So let me add another point to that, Rick. So with that space I have for the retail store at this present moment, because I don't know if I'll ever be able to do clothing, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that again. I'm looking for an essential business that I can start. Since I got the space, essential businesses are open. So what could I possibly put in that space that's going to generate me some revenue? Liquor stores are open.
Everything else is open.
Yeah, everything else is open. I'm trying to find what's essential that I can do that I can possibly place in there. Can I watch a YouTube video and learn how to do whatever it is real quick and open up?
But that's adaptability, right?
Yes.
You got to be agile. You got to be flexible. when we were talking earlier this morning, and we talked about the C word, you are already armed and prepared to talk about it. So I want you to begin with this. But leader, if you're going to act, number one, you got to be adaptable. But then number two, you got to be collaborative. That's the C in act. You got to be collaborative. What you see Stephen and I doing right now, this is what collaboration looks like. Together, we're bringing over 50 years of experience and expertise in organizational, pastoral, and entrepreneurial leadership together. Are you getting this? We have our own platforms. We have our own spheres of influence. We have our own upbringings and backgrounds. And of course, we probably have more things similar than different, just because of our origins and being PKs. But coming together allows us to expand our reach. There are people that Stephen knows that I don't know. There are people that I know that Stephen doesn't know. But together, we're able to reach beyond our knowns.
Correct.
And that's the power of collaboration. And notice each of these words, you'll notice, fit together. So once you become adaptable, in order to be adaptable, I have to become collaborative. Like, it's intrinsic, right, Stephen?
Yes.
In adaptability. I can't be adaptable if I'm not open to engage somebody else that may know something different than I do. And that's the other part of this too.
Yeah.
It's not making you less erudite, less intellectual. You know, there's nothing wrong with your cognition or cerebral capacity. Sure. It's just that everybody has blind spots.
That's it, man.
You know, that's one thing I tell my wife all the time. I always tell her how grateful I am to have her. I say, but the thing I appreciate is you got my blind spots.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? While I'm busy looking forward, you said, hey, watch that curve right there. You know what I'm saying? Or watch that cliff. And so that collaboration really makes a difference, because not only does it serve as a catalyst to keep you sharp, but it also gives you some alliances that can cover your blind spots, so you're not moving with a false pretense that you're doing well, but you may not be doing. So speak to collaboration.
All right, let me first start off with giving us 4 reasons why we don't like to collaborate.
Oh, this is good. All right, hold on.
All right.
You gotta write this down. You gotta get this. So he just gave you a tool alert. Now he's about to give you a principle alert. Yeah, dun, 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 dun. We need a buzzer, man. So get ready, write this down. He's getting ready to give you 4 reasons why we don't collaborate. Now, Stephen, take your time with this.
Yes, sir.
I want them to get this. I want them to hear this and take this in the way to ingest it and digest it properly. So he's getting ready to give you 4 reasons why we don't collaborate. Somebody who takes copious notes, go ahead and type this in the Facebook thread, the Facebook comment thread, so that others can get it. Go ahead, Stephen.
All right. Number 1, we claim that we don't have time to engage others. We claim that we don't have time to engage others. Now, that lie really needs to be thrown out the window right through here, because all of us are sheltered in place.
Right.
We've got time. And listen, if you come out of this situation, if we come out on the other side and you don't have a new skill, new thought process, read a few new books, it's not a matter of you never having time. You're just lazy.
Wow.
You have a desire to grow and nurture and develop.
What did you say they are?
Lazy.
Oh, wow.
Listen, you can make excuses or you can make progress, but you can't do both.
Oh, okay. You just throwing bombs today. That's how you coming out on this Saturday. Say that one more time.
You can make excuses or you can make progress, but you cannot make both.
That's true.
They don't happen at the same time. So it's about mindset. What's your mindset in this moment in time? So number 1, we claim we don't have time to engage others. Number 2, we don't play well with other people. Your ego, your arrogance, your presentation of self, you've never learned how to posture yourself in a position of learning and asking questions. I had an engagement with somebody on my Facebook platform who wanted to talk about stuff that they weren't credentialed to talk about. They were a critic without credentials.
So pause for a minute. So why is it that people don't play well with others? Why is it that people hide behind their egos?
Yeah.
What's the etiology of that, the root cause of that?
Sure. There's, I mean, I could go into my sociological, psychological stuff. Real
Please
deep.
go there. Go there.
Some of it deals with personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder.
Okay.
And that's really a mental health challenge. That's just not something people throw out. Oh, you got your narcissist. No, that's really in the DSM-5. You can look it up. It's in it, a diagnostic manual that's dealing with mental health. So people are suffering with that and are unaware of their identification in that regards to their life. Other people have built this image, this picturesque presentation, and they make it appear as if they've done all the work when they really had key people behind the scenes doing the work that they don't want to give credit for. And so to ask, question, to posture themselves in the position of learning, it would, in their mind, show them as being weak and vulnerable. Those,
you remind me of, you just reminded me of something. I read this quote that said, great things can be accomplished when it doesn't matter who gets the credit.
yes,
I like if we could learn that one principle,
correct.
you could take the world. Like great things can happen when you don't make it about you.
About you, yeah.
And when nobody has even know you were a part of it. It was just the fact that you have the opportunity to create something beyond you that would outlive you because you allowed other people close to you that were as competent or maybe even more competent than you.
Yeah. So that pushes leaders to ask a critical question. Do I want to be a legend or do I want to be legendary and leave a legacy?
All right, you got to unpack that. Don't just try to say that and go on. Unpack that. Elucidate that point.
A legend is focused on self. My name being in lights, people remembering me. Leaving a legacy is something that outlives me.
Right.
Setting the platform, setting the stage for this thing to continue to go higher, to grow higher. And that's an area where we suffer in our context, community context, because most of our leaders, you got to pry the baton out of their hand after they've died and rigor mortis has set in. They didn't want to take the business to the apex and then hand it off to the next generation to take it even further. They wanted to run it into the ground and then seem as if they were doing us a favor by handing us the leftovers and the scraps. And so they were more focused on being a legend, building this empire unto self, than creating legacy that lives on.
That's very critical. I hope you're sharing this conversation to your Facebook timelines. Start a watch party. We're saying that it's time to act, ACT. We've dealt with adaptable. Stephen is now talking about collaboration, and he's giving us the 4 reasons that people don't collaborate. Quickly, Stephen, by way of recapitulation before you move forward, what were the first 2 reasons that people don't collaborate?
Number 1, we claim that we don't have time to engage others.
Okay.
Number 2, we don't play well with others.
All right, now go ahead.
Number 3, they don't want to share the credit for a successful outcome. Which ties into what you just shared, because we're so individualistic in our culture. It's so much about me, my, I.
Okay.
Because we suffer with internal issues. Stuff hasn't been flushed out. We didn't cry it out as a child, so we're now acting it out as an adult. And we need the spotlight and the focus to be on us. And so we don't want to partner. We don't want to collaborate. We want to make it seem as if we had this great, ingenious idea. We did all this by ourselves. We didn't need nobody else's help.
Right.
And again, as you just said, we could do so much more if we come together, because it expands our reach and our network.
Mary McLeod Bethune said it best, the founder of Bethune-Cookman College. She said, 1 finger can point the blame, but 5 fingers joined together can form a fist that wield a mighty blow. I remember an old Sunday school song. You remember this song, Stephen, if we ever needed the Lord before.
Yes, sir.
We need him now. And that's true. But along with that, I think we can say during this challenge that we're in, if we ever needed one another before,
yes,
we sure do need each other now.
Yeah.
And I need you to really take that to heart. One of the things that I have not been able to escape during my times of meditation and quiet reflection as we go through this challenge, I haven't been able to escape the fact that I don't know if I've ever seen a time in my lifetime in my 47 years of living where humans have had to remind other humans of how to be human.
Yeah.
I mean, like literally, I mean, they're coming on the news, the major networks saying, be mindful with the social distancing guidelines. Be careful how you talk, protect yourself, wear your mask. So, not just to protect yourself from somebody else, but to protect them from you.
Correct.
And it's in the nuances of even caring about people, making sure that people are okay, calling other people. And it's funny how quickly we become inward.
Sure.
And just make it about me and my and us
Right.
four and no more, and taking care of myself, not realizing that we have a greater responsibility, that law of interdependency
Sure.
that Martin Luther King talked about. I can't be everything I ought to be unless you're being everything you ought to be. And that's so important, that we care for somebody beyond it. And let me tell you, if you've got something that's going to save my life, you think it matter who gets the credit for it?
Right.
I'll go and sing your praises everywhere I go. I'm just glad my life is saved. And
Yes.
so that's what it's about. If it's about the posterity and the prosperity of your family, does it really matter who gets the credit?
Correct.
As long as we're able to make it through it and come out on the other side winning.
Yes.
And not in the deficit. So you've given us three. Give us those first three again, and then take us into number 4.
We claim we don't have time to engage others.
Okay.
Number 2, we don't play well with others. Number 3, we don't want to share the credit for the successful outcome. And then number 4, we fear that our ideas will be stolen. Again, it goes back to that selfish nature that's in us. We think somebody gonna take it and just run with it.
Right.
Listen, I've seen somebody preach my sermon before. They got DVD, wrote it out word for word.
Right.
And it was great content. I know it's great content because I put it together. But they don't have what I have.
Right.
The delivery didn't come across as well. God has given each one of us something special, a unique gift, a unique talent, a unique ability. And so it doesn't matter if somebody takes it and runs with it. Let them go with it. I mean, I've had people say, Stephen, you put so much content for free out on your page. Great, take it. Act like it's yours. Act like you created it. But you'll never be able to present it in the same way, with the same passion, with the same knowledge base. You ain't going to be able to answer the questions that may come from it, because that's what was gifted to me. And it's about us sharing. This collaborative thing, it's just as much about us giving as it is getting. It's a two-way street. And so we can't be afraid and hoard stuff, hold it in because somebody may do something with it. Let it go. If God gifted you with that, he's going to gift you with more.
And that's so critical, because both Stephen and I have other roles and responsibilities that we do as work, or what other people call work. So we're not doing this just because we've got a bunch of extra time or don't have anything else to do. We have things that we were doing before this. We've got things we got to do after this. There are roles that we have to fulfill. Even while we're on stay in place, we still have things we have to do to help everything be in place in our respective roles and within the context of our responsibilities. But we're doing this because we understand the value of uniqueness. And we understand that we have to be accountable for what God's given us. And so it's incumbent upon us. It's actually required of us. It's a mandate that we help you to be uniquely who you were designed to be.
Sure.
And that's really what it's about. I mean, that's the word for that is called altruism.
Yeah.
Altruism. I love to spell words. I win the spelling bees in 3rd grade. But altruism is when you do something without expecting anything in return. You're doing it for the greater good.
For the greater good, yeah.
Yeah, and that's our only, like, literally, this just came out of a conversation. I think we were at lunch or something before this pandemic hit the way that it did, hit us sideways. And we were just talking, we were saying, look, what can we do? Create a podcast, not having no idea that this would be necessary. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
In that people would need an outlet and something to feed their brain and nourish their spirit. But that's what you're called to do. There's something that you have unique that nobody else can do like you. And so you have a responsibility. Give it away. Share it. They can't do it like you, but you're going to help them to be uniquely who they are.
That's it, man.
And that's very important. So quickly, give us those 4 reasons
Yes.
that people don't collaborate, then I need you to take us into the part that you talked to me about today. So what he just gave you was bonus.
Yeah.
Now I want him to talk about the power of collaboration, and then we'll get to our last word in ACT, the T, in just a moment. But go ahead and give us a recap of those four, and then let's expand and embellish this concept of collaboration, because I believe this is the key. There's somebody sitting at home right now who may be furloughed, who may not be sure of what their career path, the trajectory of their career path looks like when this is over with. And they may be one collaboration away.
Yes.
From everything that they need for their future. So we definitely, I want to make sure we hone in here and get as much out of this as we can.
Cool. So number one, people claim that they don't have time to engage others. That's a lie. You've got time. You got to make time. You got to make things a priority. Number two, you don't play well with others. Get over yourself. Call a therapist. They have online therapy you can still get in this moment to flush out some stuff so you can learn how to engage other people. Number three, we don't want to share because we don't want to share the successful outcome with somebody else. It's about all of us working together, coming together, pooling our gifts, talents, and abilities so that we all win on the other side of this thing. Right. And then number four, you fear that your ideas will be stolen. If you've been given one idea, you haven't, the heaven hasn't closed, though other things have. God can still give you a download, some fresh ideas, some fresh vision. And nobody can do what you do better than you do. So just do it and let other people try to do what they can do with what they get even from you.
Tisha Dixon Williams, thank you so much. She's taken copious notes, Stephen.
Tish is my friend. Tish pastors in the Hamptons, and she's doing an amazing job up there holding things down. So Tish, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for partnering with us and collaborating and being that copious note taker.
Yeah, Tisha, it's a pleasure to virtually meet you. So now come on, Thurston, talk about the power of collaboration and why it's so critical.
I got 5 tips.
Here we go. Wait, hold on. Dun, 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 dun. Here we go. Another principles alert. He's got to give you some principles that you can use. So get ready for this. He's got 5 tips he's going to give you for collaboration. He just gave you the 4 reasons people don't collaborate. Now he's going to give you the 5 tips that you need for, I think we ought to frame this, Stephen, for effective.
Yes.
And productive collab, because some people are collaborating,
right,
but they don't understand how to do it properly, right? So it's not effective or productive. So these are 5 tips for effective and productive collaboration. Put this on the screen. We're dealing with the word act, because for leaders, it's time to act. We're changing our P word from pandemic to possibilities. We're getting out of reactive maintenance, and now we're operating in proactive mobilization. That's what we're doing. So we're shaping this conversation and we're calling it "and also." Yes, you've been doing well. Yes, you've done great things, but the times that we're in, these unprecedented times, is calling for uncommon potential.
Yes, sir.
To be drawn up out of you. So you're about to get 5 tips that will help you to collaborate. That's the C word in this word act, because it's time to act. So you've already learned how to become agile, how to be adaptable. Now you're learning how to be collaborative. So give us those 5 tips, Steve.
Cool. Number 1, be on the lookout. Be on the lookout. Stop missing opportunities simply because you're not looking. This is feast or famine time. You got to be looking for your next. You got to be looking for how you're going to make moves and who can I connect with? Who knows what I don't know? Here's where I'm lacking. Here's where I'm struggling. Here's where I don't get it. Just like earlier today, Rick, and last night, you had to connect with your media guy so that we could come on today, things could transfer well. Right. He had a knowledge base that you did not have. And so you had to be on the lookout. I'm trying to look for people again, as I stated, I'm looking for opportunities to fill that retail space that I have.
Right.
I'm looking at other pastors' social media pages because I believe our page is challenged. Right. So I want to be able to give our team, hey, here's some ideas. Pastor Reggie Sharp, he put up an amazing post with some recaps of his message from this past Sunday, and he ran it. Can we do something like this? So I'm often looking for people who are doing what I want to do, who are where I want to be, to learn and glean from them. So we've got to be on the lookout, because the more you look, the more you'll see.
Right.
Number two, we've got to connect with competitors. Connect with competitors. I had, when I had my last store here in Chicago several years ago, there was another clothing store down the street, another Black-owned spot, but they did more athletic wear, things of that nature. We did more upscale grown man going out wear. Okay. But there were still some areas where we kind of cross-pollinated. Some of our customer base was the same. And so we had a sit-down meeting one day and said, hey, I'm not trying to compete with you. I'm trying to collaborate with you. And so if your customer says to you, hey, man, I'm going here, I need this, and you don't have it, I need you to send him down the street to me. And likewise, my customers, after I sell them what I'm going to sell them, hey, I need you to go down the street and check out my guy. He's got some additional pieces that I think you might need. We could have been seen as competitors, but we decided to collaborate. And that cross-pollination helped both of our bottom lines to go up. So finding those strategic alliances with overlapping organizations or entities or businesses helps us win. We see it now. We see Netflix and Amazon partnering together. Right. Apple and Google partnering together, because it just makes sense. And some of our business might be able to survive through this if we connect with somebody who has an ancillary gift that can add on to what we're trying to offer. Right. All right. So number one, be on the lookout. Number two, connect with competitors. If you want to do a little research, you can go back and look at how IBM and Apple back in the day, they hated each other, but they came together. They worked some stuff out. Apple and Microsoft, Apple and Microsoft, right. Yeah, total competitors, but they came together for the greater good. Right. And we do this all the time. If Rick is somebody that you don't like, and it's somebody that I don't like, and you and I may not like each other, but we got this common enemy, we're going to forge together. It's the same concept. We got to come together to make this thing work. Number three, you got to give to get. You got to give to get. No partnership is unidirectional. You cannot reap the benefits, but never make any sacrifices.
You know what? I think we have to shift our mindset when it comes to receiving. There's something I teach about called the pleasure principle. And in order to understand the pleasure principle, you have to understand the difference in a container that can hold something and a conduit that releases something. Yes, you get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Because a container that holds something, it's designed only to do what? Receive.
Yes.
But because it's only designed to receive, it's going to be limited.
Yes.
And a lot of people live like containers because they're preoccupied with what they can get for themselves.
Yes, sir.
What you want to become is a conduit. Because what does a conduit? It's like a hose pipe.
Yeah, it transfers.
A hose pipe is connected to a source for one reason and one reason alone. Its sole purpose is to what? To release whatever that source provides.
Yes, sir.
So here's the thing. If you stop, this is the pleasure principle. If you stop focusing on being a container just to hold and hoard what you can get.
Yes, sir.
And you change your C word from container to conduit, right? Where you can release. Well, what happens? Everything that's needed for the hose goes where? Through the hose. So if you're dealing with a water pipe, well, the water that it's designed to receive goes what? Through it.
Yes, sir.
As a result, watch this, it always has more than enough.
Yes, sir.
You get what I'm saying?
You just help somebody raise their offering tomorrow.
Huh?
You just help somebody raise their offering tomorrow.
I just helped them raise the offering tomorrow. Okay, they can send me the love gift of that. But that's the key. And so my challenge is to the point that you're making about being collaborative is don't seek to get anything.
Yes, sir.
Seek to give everything, because the more you're giving out is the more you're going to receive. And it will just continue. It'll be perpetual. It'll never stop. So preoccupy yourself, not with being a container.
Yes, sir.
But become a conduit.
Yes, sir.
Make up in your mind, I'm going to be a channel that ideas, that innovation, that resource can flow through. And if I commit myself to allowing things to flow out of my life, it's just setting me up for more to flow into my life.
That's it, man.
So give those first three again, please, as you're going through the way to be an effective collaborator.
You got to be on the lookout. Stop missing opportunities because you're not looking. Number two, you have to connect with your competitors. The key to long-term success and gaining exposure as well as some market share is connecting with other people who reach people that you may not necessarily reach on your own. Number three, you got to give to get. You can't reap benefits, but never make sacrifices. Number four of five, we're almost there. You got to expose your expectations. As you come into relationship and partnership and collaboration with people, you have to define the roles and the responsibilities that each party is going to play. You need to do that early. You need to do that clearly. So you gave a perfect segue with that conduit and container piece.
Excellent.
And I love how we just flow like that. You don't know what I'm gonna say. I don't know what you're gonna say, but it all marries together.
Yeah, and by the way, this is not planned. All we do is shape a direction, but the content you're receiving is organic. We're just pulling out of our reservoirs because we made ourselves available to be a conduit. So we're giving you a live illustration of what it looks like to be collaborative and how that process, that synergy, because that's what it is. The sum of the whole becomes greater than the sum of the parts. That synergy creates something that's greater than what either of us would do by ourselves.
For sure. Yeah. So with this expectation piece, expectations unexpressed and are not agreed upon are simply wishes. So you've got to be clear from the jump what the expectations are, because expectations also help to establish trust.
Right.
So number four, expose your expectations. What do you want out of this? What are you expecting? What are you going to bring to the table? What do you expect them to bring to the table? And then fifth and finally, you got to end things well. At some point, we're going to come out on the other side of this. Right. And some of the collaborations and connections that we made were useful for that time being, but they may not be useful on the other side.
Right.
And it's important that we end things well, because ending partnerships on a bad note breeds bitterness.
Right.
And that's not what we need.
Right.
We recognize, because of the expectation, what we wanted from them, what they wanted from us. And then when that's no longer needed or necessary, it doesn't make that person doesn't need to then be demonized.
Right.
There's a problem with you if every relationship ends on a bad note.
Okay, now you're preaching now. I think you need to stay there a minute. Just elucidate that, because that's very critical.
Yeah.
My father used to say it this way. He says, if one person has a problem with you, it may be them. But if more than one person is dealing with the same issue with you, it's probably you.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
It's funny you say that. I remember this greeting card that I read once that said, and I didn't buy it, by the way. Let me put that disclaimer before I say what the greeting card said. The greeting card said, there's nobody right in the world but you and I. And I've had my doubts about you lately. And that's how some people live. You know what I'm saying? Where they feel like they're the end all be all. You know, everybody else has a problem. Everybody else is demon possessed. Right. I'm the only one's got it right. And I'm like, nah, you might be. Khalil Gibran is my favorite poet philosopher. For those that are voracious readers and love poetry and philosophy and Greek thought, I encourage you to read Khalil Gibran. One of my favorite books he wrote is called Sand and Foam. And Khalil Gibran said this. He said, we often see best in others what we see in ourselves.
Yes, sir.
So when you have a problem, to your point, when you have a problem with everybody around you, you might need to look in the mirror and put a magnifying glass between you and the mirror, because it's probably you. So quickly recapitulate those 5 areas for effective and productive collaboration as we move into the T in our word act.
Perfect. Be on the lookout, connect with competitors, give to get, expose your expectations, and end things well.
So I'm gonna put Stephen on the spot. In a few minutes, we're gonna introduce you to another engagement, a platform we're creating to engage you directly. And I'm already gonna ask him now to post that on that platform. So you don't wanna miss it. So stay on for about the next 5 minutes. We're taking you somewhere because we're gonna tell you about something that we're gonna do to engage you further. Those of you that are pastors and entrepreneurs and consultants and executives and social media influencers and content creators and mamas and daddies, we've got a way we want to engage you on a continual basis. And Stephen's going to take those 5 things and put it on that platform. So stay with us. So the last word in this word ACT, in our acronym ACT, we've dealt with being adaptable. We've dealt with being collaborative. But if you're going to act, the third thing that you have to have, Stephen, is you've got to have a transcendent mindset. And I think this is very critical because a transcendent mindset means that you leave a why, W-H-Y, over your head at all times. That's what a transcendent mindset is. In other words, a transcendent mindset says just because this was great today does not mean it's going to be great tomorrow. As a matter of fact, I'm going to live by the assumption or the presumption that it's probably not going to be great tomorrow. That's what a transcendent mindset does. A transcendent mindset says there's always something greater. And this is what's interesting to me, especially for anybody who reads the Bible or considers themselves a Christian. We read scriptures like, eyes have not seen and ears have not heard and neither have into the heart of man the things that God's prepared for them that love him. He will do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can. We quote all of those scriptures, but yet we get stuck in the rudimentary routines of our rituals and our traditions, when everything that we say we believe is designed to be transcendent.
Yes, sir.
And so if you're going to act, if you're going to make the shift from just maintenance mode, from being reactive and being in maintenance mode, and you're going to make the shift to mobilizing, to being proactive, it's important that you know how to act. Sound like Big Mama talking to you. You know how to act? Well, that's what we're saying to you. It's time for you to know how to act. You got to be adaptable. You got to be collaborative. You got to be transcendent. Get on the phone, create a private Zoom conversation, get some friends around you, some people that know how to critically think. That's what this time is calling for. To be a transcendent thinker is to be a critical thinker. And in order to be a critical thinker, you have to ask, why are we doing this? I know it may have been a wonderful idea in 1985. It may have even been a great idea in 2019. It may have even been a great idea in February of 2020.
But it's a new season.
Yeah, but is it what we need? So before we end, Stephen, speak to this issue of transcendence, how that looks, how does that materialize?
Yeah, I've often heard it said that if what you did yesterday still impresses you, you're not doing enough today.
Okay, pause again. Thought alert, dun, 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 dun. Say it one more time. Say it real slow. Write this down, say it again.
If what you did yesterday still impresses you, you're not doing enough today.
That's good.
Leaders, and that's who we're talking to on this platform. Mm-hmm. Leaders ought to be lifelong learners. You ought to be constantly reading, constantly engaging, watching videos, tapping into people who, again, are where you want to be, who are doing what you want to do, who have done what you aspire to do. So we always ought to be picking up tools, sharpening our tools, and knowing what our why is. If, like you said, Rick, if you're constantly asking, what's my why? Why am I doing this? Where is this leading me? Then that ought to constantly keep us in that agile space, that fluid space of being adaptable, being changeable, saying, hey, this worked to get me here, but won't get me there. That's a great book to read, leader. What got you here won't get you there.
Right.
Amazing book that'll help. Canoeing the Mountains is another great book that'll help you to shift your mindset about when it's time to drop something and move on and do something different in a different way to get you where you want to be.
Those are great book recommendations. I'm gonna just add a couple of more to it. There's a book called If You Want to Walk on Water, You Got to Get Out of the Boat.
Yes.
By John Ortberg. And then there's a book that's Andy Stanley wrote years ago called Visioneering. But you gotta, your vision is a construct of engineering.
Yeah.
You're only, what you see is determined by how you see.
Yes.
I'm gonna say it again. This is what visioneering is. It's a construct of engineering. What you see is determined by how you see. We're all living through the same pandemic. But if you're going to change the P word from pandemic to possibilities, you got to change how you see it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're challenging you on. We're telling you change how you see it. Be adaptable, be collaborative, be transcendent, change how you see it.
And your vision, leader, has to be dynamic and not static. That's another sticking place for some leaders. You think that just because you had the vision, just because you were called to this means you got to stay stuck right there. No, even as pastors, I used to be a senior pastor. I'm no longer a senior pastor. I'm an executive pastor. I don't want to continue to be an executive pastor for the rest of my life. I'm shifting and transitioning into coaching and mentoring and consulting. So you can be called to something different. God don't stop speaking after he initially calls you. So I need some seasoned leader to recognize your role could be transitioning into something else. This time period could be helping you to push you into your next phase of life. Some leader, some business owner, you could be transitioning to your next phase of life. So don't be afraid to go with the shift.
That's good, Stephen. If I could encapsulate that, what you're called to do is not all that God wants you to do.
Yeah.
There's some things, because here it is. That was so good. There's some things you're called to do and then other things you're gifted to do.
Yeah.
Now understand, your calling never follows your gift. Your gift follows your calling. So calling always sets precedent. But just because God gave you a calling doesn't mean that's all you're supposed to be doing. He also gave you some gifts. Go to the parable of the talents in the Gospels, right?
Yes.
He's like, if I gave it to you, if you got 5, get 5 more. You got 2, get 2 more. You got 1, at least find 1 other. And of course, because the one that had 1 talent didn't do anything with it, he said, I've got to curse you to perdition. I'm expelling you. He said, I would that you would have even gambled with it than to hide it and waste it. So this is the season to use everything you have in you. Let me say one other point, because this is very critical, particularly for pastors and spiritual leaders. God never changes his mind. He just doesn't reveal everything that's on his mind. So God could have told you, okay, do this. And you said, well, Lord, I know you spoke to me, but look at the crisis we're in. Was that you that spoke? He did speak. And he didn't change his mind, but he knows the end from the beginning. He knew what was coming. So now he's revealing more of what was already on his mind that you didn't have the capacity for before.
Yes.
So if God tells you go right, and then he says abruptly, take a U-turn and go back the other way, you say, well, God, you changed your mind. He said, I'm the Lord, I changeth not. So he never has to change his mind. His mind is too vast and expansive. As a matter of fact, we're the ones with the minds. It's our cognition and our erudition and intellect that's trying to ascertain what the mind of God is. Because really, that's who God is. When you talk about the mind of God, that's who God is. It's everything. So our responsibility is to synchronize ourselves with what's happening in God's now, not in my now.
Yes.
Not in your now. What's happening? Oh, that's so good. What's happening in God's now? And that's what I want you to be praying about. God, what is your now for me? If you're a pastor, what is your now for my church? If you're an entrepreneur, what is your now for my business? If you're a consultant, what is your now in me equipping others? If you're parents, what is the now for our family system and our family structure? Find out what the now is. You've been doing well. You've been doing good. You know you're called. You know you're gifted. You know you're talented. What is your now? And that's why Stephen and I are here. We're here to help you discover your now. That's what this conversation is about. The revolution will not be televised. It will be streamed. It's about helping you to understand your now and know how to navigate life and leadership in a digital world. Let me tell you, the world is not going back to how it was. It's going to continue to evolve. I always say God doesn't do encores. God never repeats what he's already done. God is always doing something else. Yes. So to that now, Stephen and I have created a Facebook group that's designed for leaders. Let me emphasize that. It is for leaders, whatever your context of leadership is. And you say, how do I know if I'm a leader? If you're somebody who wants to maximize your potential, you want to mobilize your purpose and multiply your productivity, you're a leader. Let me give it to you again. The criteria for a leader is somebody who wants to maximize your potential. You want to use up all your stuff. You want to mobilize your purpose. You want to accomplish as much as you can. And you want to multiply your productivity. You want to reach everything that's been designed as your future. You're a leader. So here's what I want to encourage you to do. If you're on my timeline, if you look at the caption, there's a link there. At the end of that caption, click that link, and that'll take you to our Facebook group. We have now created a Facebook group. Yes, we have, because we're serious about this. Stephen's going to post those 5 tips for competency in the Facebook group. You're not going to get it on his page or my page. You have to be accepted in the Facebook group. When you get over there, they're going to ask you some questions, share some things with you. You'll see it on the page. Just answer the questions, go into the group, and we're going to respond back. We'll probably spend Stephen, you got about 15 extra minutes?
Sure.
We got a little time. We'll spend about 15 minutes just talking in there. So you can type and we'll talk back to you. We'll welcome you into that group, shared with some other leaders that you know, but we're so committed to you. We want to see you maximize the potential that you have. We want to see you mobilize your purpose, and we want to see you multiply your productivity. If you have questions, we may try to answer some questions. If you say, I don't see the link to the Facebook group, all you got to do is search for The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. It will be streamed. Just put that in anywhere on Facebook and it'll bring the group up. And just go over and request the group. We're looking for 100 people to join the group today. But you want to do that because as we go along, our future conversations will only be available in the group. So if you're not a part of the group, you won't be able to join the conversation. So we're putting it out here now as a teaser to let you see what you will be receiving when you come into the group. It's no charge, it's free, it's yours, but just come and join us because we want to be able to focus in on those who are serious about maximizing their potential, mobilizing for purpose, and multiplying their possibilities. Stephen, you have any final words before we get off of here and go over to the group and talk to our folk?
I mean, I want to thank the people for connecting with us today. We really appreciate you making the sacrifice of your time. Again, timelines are flooded with people saying, speaking, sharing, but you decided to connect with us today. We appreciate it. Thank you for indulging us. We pray that you're really blessed by this, that you found benefit and added value to your life, to your work, to your ministry, to your business, whatever it is that you give leadership in. We want to be a resource for you. So please head over and tell somebody else that you know can benefit from this. Please share this information because it's about collaboration.
Yeah.
It's going to take all of us coming together for us to get where we need to be. You never know who you're going to need and how you're going to need them in times like these. So let's share, let's work together, let's grow together. Let's be prepared to not just survive, but thrive.
Let's thrive. That's our word. And Stephen, thank you, man, for being the epitome of what a collaborator is and what a catalyst is. You're a true brother.
Thank you, man. You too.
Friend, man. And you're brilliant on top of that.
Thank you, sir.
And I appreciate that. It makes for easy,
step my game up, man.
It makes for easy conversation. Listen, I want to encourage you, wherever your local church is, I hope you'll watch their live stream. We've been in Lenten season. We're heading into Passion Week. This will be Palm Sunday. And so I want to encourage you, support your local church. Text or email your pastor, whomever your senior pastor is, whatever church you're a part of. Tell him and her that you love them, you're praying for them, encourage them, reach out to your faith community, reach out to the community you live in, encourage others. And again, let's pray for and take care and encourage our first responders, medical professionals, law enforcement officials, government officials. Let's encourage one another. Let's keep one another empowered. There's so much more ahead of us. And we're not in maintenance mode, Stephen, we're mobilizing. We're building momentum for where we're going. Thank you for joining us. Go over to the Facebook group. We're coming over there right now. This is like the after party. Yeah. We're coming over there right now to just talk to you and chat with you a little bit. So meet us over there. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day. God bless you.